In 2026, AI is no longer a tool used, it's a power system inside the enterprise, and every power system demands governance or governs you. This episode is built around one uncomfortable truth. AI accountability is now a C suite mandate, not because AI is new, but because its outcomes are now business outcomes. Customer trust, regulatory exposure, and operational resilience, brand integrity, and strategic advantage. Today, leaders are facing a new accountability question. If AI accelerate decisions, who owns the consequences? If automation scales impact, who proves control? If AI is everywhere, who governs what is in scope versus what is noise? Our speaker, Praveen Kumar, brings the mindset of a technology risk executive, practical evidence driven, and build for regulatory environments where proof beats promise. Let's bring in Praveen Kumar to our podcast and dive into the topic. Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Hi, Prem. Good evening.
How are you, sir? Welcome to
Excellent.
our
How are you?
podcast. Good, sir. Sir, a small intro about yourself, your journey so far, sir.
Yeah, I'm Praveen Motipalli, and this is almost my 25th the corporate experience. So I've been working in multiple areas. I covered in this 2 decades healthcare, financial, and manufacturing currently. And speaking is my passion, and I cover up these things just to educate and for knowledge purpose. And today, whatever I'm going to talk is only my personal interest. I think which resembles my company. And I also love to mentor startups and talk to students, which again I learn from them more.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's dive into the topic and start looking at on AI Academy, what it means to govern before being governed, sir, because that's the topic that we are talking about, and your pointers there, sir.
Yeah, everywhere it is AI currently. So we go to classrooms, we go to colleges, talk in the office. It's all about AI. But very difficult term is governance. So if we don't govern, then we are lost. And especially AI, if I could say, like in the Indian context, an old ambassador car, if you put an AI engine, it runs very faster, so even though it is older. So we should know how to control that. So that is what the main governance about AI is. If you don't govern, then it is gone.
So the primary pointer that we are saying is anything that is being implemented should be having a strong governance mechanism is what we are saying. And with that start, whether it is a old car or new car, you need to know how to manage it is what we are starting with. And sir, coming to our first pointer that we want to speak about is what does C-suite AI accountability actually means in one sentence?
Yeah, C-suite accountability is the one of the prime ingredient wherein all executives have to ensure they speak the same language, and they have to understand that we're invested in AI, and since AI is very fast, so they can't put it in shallows or take decision later. So whatever has to be spoken in the boardroom, it has to be fixed and aligned with the CEO. That's very important.
Sir, if AI creates business impact, what exactly must the C-suite own? Outcomes, controls, risk appetite, or all of them, sir?
Okay, it's a very tough question you asked, Prem. I would say it is all of it, and that's exactly the main point I would like to mention. So the C-suite owns the outcome what AI produces. It could be either the revenue, the customer experience, the legal exposure, the controls that govern how AI behaves, and the risk appetite that defines how much uncertainty the business will tolerate. So separating this creates accountability gaps. And main thing, Prem, accountability is one of the main thing in the species, especially in the AI era. Like for example, a CEO who signs off an AI-driven underwriting model but doesn't own the fairness outcomes as delegated accountability without the authority. So governance failure is waiting, and regulatory inquiry could happen, and you could be there in the front line of the headlines.
Sir, that's a very important point. Frontline or headlines is a point that I think everybody should look at in today's environment, because what we see is a small mistake can get you into the headlines, but a small pointer where you can protect can bring you to the security angle, and people can look at it, you as a trusted partner. So it is a very crucial point that we are talking about, and that means a lot when the business is looking at AI today, right, sir? What is the difference between AI oversight or AI versus AI accountability in decision making?
Okay, so we should get back to the dictionaries, Oxford Dictionary, very much, because the fine print has to be very clear. So oversight and accountability are very vital. So what I would like to say is that oversight is like watching, and accountability is all about owning. So most of the times, what happens is there are organizations which work in matrix work culture, where there are more than one boss, or a person reports to multiple bosses, and they can say, "I'm having an oversight." But the point is that in the account, AI is one part where you need to have accountability. So, oversight means a committee reviews AI dashboards quarterly. Accountability means a named executive can be called to explain and, if necessary, correct every consequential AI decision on the business table. So, again, example practically. So, if a system makes any discriminatory lending decision tomorrow, systems are configured in AI, right? So, where they can make some decisions. Now, something goes wrong. What happens? Who walks to the regulator's office? Who owns the finding? Who signs the remediation plan? So the person is accountable. So everyone else is watching. So that's the reason in C-suite we need to have an AI accountable person, which has to be very much there.
See, I think what we are saying is it is very important to see the ownership, because when you don't have ownership, it becomes everybody's baby, where nobody is in charge of it, and we get into trouble, right? So that's a major challenge that we see, and we need to look at ownership of outcomes plus governance of risk, ability to prove a control, emphasize decision rights, and also look at escalation paths. When you say accountability, clarity, who signs off, who monitors, and who acts when it breaks, these are the pointers that are very crucial for us to look at when we say accountability. Am I right in saying that, sir?
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
So AI isn't risky because it is smart, it is risky because it is accountability vague, right? So I think that's what we want to say. So where does AI governance fail first in real enterprises?
Okay. So I think Prem, as you and me were talking before the sessions about our experiences and all. So going back to the memory lane to where information security has come. From there, we move to cybersecurity. But one question remains is all about asset management. So assets are there or not. Now coming to AI and next to PQC, the post quantum. Again, I would say that if companies don't maintain the asset inventory of AI, then they fail.
I think, see, if you really look at organizations from the start where we started our careers, I think asset management, access management has been always a crucial point for any businesses. If you really look at, if you are able to manage both of these two things, I think we are having the first level of control of the organization, where who does what is done on the user management side, what assets are managed, how it is managed, what kind of inventory is there, and what are the licenses and other points that are there are becoming very important, is what we are saying. Is the first failure usually inventory, data, access, vendors, or shadow usage? Because we just spoke about inventory, right?
Yeah, I think I directly jumped into the answer. Why? Because that is very crucial part. Prem. So I would say the answer is inventory almost every time, as I mentioned
Okay.
about the 1980s eras and now where we are. So you cannot govern what you don't catalog. So most companies discover that they have three to four times more AI systems in production than their official registry what they show. This failure starts the moment a team deploys a pilot without registering it. And or a vendor sometimes quietly introduces some new AI recommendation into the engine. So that again comes into the aspect of governance. So governance break frameworks built or incomplete inventories are structurally blind actually. So I would like to mention that if these things are not managed, and other thing is that systems of AI are very fast. So we have to ensure that we provide a platform and they have to ensure these things are recorded and cataloged.
Got it, sir. So the primary focus is always the inventory first piece, that, and whatever pilots also have to be registered is what we are saying. And what is the most common we did not realize AI was doing that moment you see, which I think most of us are having today's environments. As you rightly said, a pilot unregistered also could be one of the question that you said. What is that you think those pointers should be, sir, or are there at the moment in few of the environments?
Yeah. So I think this word we have been using in our lifetime, right? Doing a pilot, doing a QA testing, and doing some change management and all. So nothing has changed much, Prem. Specifically, everything remains the same, but AI is very faster. So what I would like to mention is that the most common scenario is a productivity pilot that quietly become a production decision system. One of the main thing. So, in an example, a team adopts an AI tool to speed up document review or to prioritize support tickets. Within 6 months, it is routing customer escalations, influencing credit decisions, or flagging employees for performance review. I think people may not like it. Performance review is a big thing, and with no formal approval, no risk assessment, and no monitoring. So, what happens here is the leadership learns about it during an audit. The system had been in use for years, no one owned it, and no one monitored it. So these are the things which are realized later. And as everybody thinks a fresher is being educated into a system, which is not really accepted by the management. It just comes, something really happens, an auditor has to come and flag it.
So the other point, see, if you are saying audit, we've been talking about this for quite some time, I think, because gone are those days where we had audits once a year, 3 months once, and then today we are looking at with the AI system saying a continuous monitoring, continuous audit ready, right? So that's what we are looking at today's failure. AI untracked tools, unapproved integration, pilots that become production, unclear ownership, and missing evidence trials are looked at only during the audit pointers. But if you really look at the inventory pointer that we are talking about, we want to see every asset is being included very early when the asset is brought in. So I was talking to somebody recently, sir, where they want to look at how do we look at inventory in a different sense. Now, if I get an asset, how do I, once the asset is tagged in, it also looks at whether it is going and adding a detail into who is it getting assigned. AD is getting to know this asset belongs to this person, and if the person leaves also, once the asset is handed over, the user is also getting terminated or suspended, is what they are looking at. An inventory level is what somebody was telling. That's the process that they want to bring for the new way of looking at the inventory. So I think that's where we need to look at. Governance does not fail in the strategic, it fails when we see invisible assets or invisible AI coming and playing a pointer there. So if you had to build
Yeah.
an AI accountability model, what are the non-negotiables that you look into build that model, sir?
Just to answer your previous points, I would like to mention more than audit actually, Prem. Um, the current industry language in which governance has to follow is the control assessments. So there are a lot of regulations coming into picture. So we need to ensure that we follow the control language, and if we ensure that our systems are having the respective controls either of US region, India, or Europe, then we could be able to build robust systems. And then audit is the later part. and we could be sanitized onto. So coming back to your question about AI accountability, so you put me into a very tight spot actually, because what is a non-negotiable thing? So the point is that there are multiple things which come into picture here. The roles and responsibilities are the main things where defining a RASI is very much important. So this is where the entire thing comes up. If you don't have a RASI model, then accountability will not come into picture. Prem, I cannot hear you.
Sorry, sir. What we are talking about is a RACI model should look at having that kind of an accountability built. Who's the executor, who's the owner, who's the authorized person who can change things is what we are saying. Now, what should be a formal defined role? As you said, RACI, risk tires, approval workflows, monitoring cadence. What should be the formal role defined, sir?
If you want a one mark answer, the answer is all four, what you said. Okay. So, but in a specific sequence, we need to ensure all these four are very vital. So the risk tests, approval workflow, monitoring cadence. So we should start with the risk test, for example. So because they determine how much rigor every other element requires, then define the roles. So who owns the model? Because we talk about models in AI. Who owns the data? Who owns the risk? Who approves the deployment? Who monitors the post-launch of it? And next, build the approval workflow. So high risk AI cannot be going live without documented sign off. So the next thing, finally, to your question, it comes the monitoring cadence proportionate to impact. So the non-negotiable element is none of these are informal. So they must be documented, tested, and evidence. See, Prem, one thing is that we are seeing a lot of things happening in the AI world, especially in the US. Something happens, ChatGPT shares, OpenAI system shares are down. So Anthropic, the Claude AI, so they're doing some dramatic things, which is impacting to shut down some startup companies. And we also have noticed that it has also dramatically influenced some IT sector companies where their shares have fallen. So putting all these things, if you are not documented and if you don't follow these four, then it would be a realistic problem when something happens.
So any implementation that is unmonitored or not put into the production with a proper control can lead to brand image. One, two, it can bring down the uh, business of the organization is what we are saying. Offer it should look at an executive spanner, risk owner, who's the model owner, data owner, security owner, legal, privacy, audit. These are key things that uh, needs clarity, and there is no bureaucracy that should be looking at is what I think what you are saying. No owner, no control, no harmless automation is what we are talking about. Now, what criteria matters most? Customer impact, financial decisions, safety, identity access, privacy, or regulatory exposure?
Okay. So maybe we have also have a lot of audience in the C-suite who are listening to. They're very keen to check what are these things happening. So I would say that the the four of these criteria dominate: the customer impact, regulatory exposure, data sensitivity, and reversibility. So I would like to mention like an AI system is high impact if it directly affects a customer's access to products, pricing,
Hmm.
services, or to safety. It's high impact if a regulator has explicitly named AI in the domain. So it's high impact if it processes protected data categories, and it is high impact if a wrong decision is difficult or impossible to reverse. So the main thing is if wrong decision is there, then that is one of the thing which is impossible to reverse. So I have some quote which I used to talk in the management criteria sometimes. We have champions of wrong decisions sometimes. So if you don't do properly, that is very dangerous. So, but in AI systems, it impacts the company very much. So we need to ensure a wrong decision costs very badly.
Sir, how do we look at the tiring, sir? What is the practical way of to tire an AI system so that governance is not proportional? So, how do we look at, sir?
Yeah, it's a very wonderful thing. I would have loved to have some display also, screen shared to our audience, but as it's a podcast, we cannot have. So I would like to mention there is a three-tier model which can be adapted onto. So tier one, which is very high. So AI that makes or materially influences decision affecting customers, employees, or regulated outcomes requires full controls, formal approval, ongoing monitoring, and incident response readiness. And tier two, a medium level I could mention. So AI that augments human decisions with moderate risk. So it requires documentation, periodic review, and a named owner. Okay, and the last one is the tier three, so which is low. So it's for internal productivity with negligible external impact. So requires basic inventory registration and acceptable use acknowledgement. Saying all these things, Prem, one thing is AI is very faster. So we can be in tier one, tier two, or three, but we don't know when tier three becomes priority. It comes to tier one.
Are right, sir, saying that the way things are transforming and the way AI is speeding up, you don't know what is relevant today can become irrelevant tomorrow. So the pointer is very clear that these high impact system require stricter controls, testing it, monitoring, approval, incident response, while low impact systems use lighter guardrails, keep it simple and repeatable is what we are talking. Not all AI needs the same governance, but every AI needs a label, is what we are saying. And with it, how are controls versus evidence? How do we leaders prove AI is governed, not just claiming them, sir?
Prem, I think you have put some good questions, very well planned to put me in spot. Yeah. So the main thing here is, as we know that we have a lot of things which happen in the infrastructure world. So we have weekly engagements and monthly engagements where we need to ensure that the model changes, approvals, monitoring logs, exceptions, incident management, all these things actually have to be there, which have to be very much governed actually.
Okay. What evidence should exist in weekly, monthly cadence and model changes, approvals, monitoring logs, exceptionals, and including drills? What should be the weekly cadence? What are the pointers that we should look in weekly and monthly cadences?
Okay. So I would like to say when we talk about weekly monitoring logs showing model performance, drift indicators, and flagged anomalies. So in monthly, exception registers and approved change records for any model updates, and a summary of near misses or threshold breaches could come in monthly. And the third one to your question is about quarterly. So formal attestation by the business owner that controls remain effective, plus a review of vendor AI commitments. So, and the last thing which comes is about annual thing. So if it when it's an annual which comes into picture, a full model risk assessment has to be done. Update tiering review. So tiers are very much important, as I mentioned in the previous question, tier 1 to 3. So we can ensure to update the tier review. And I would encourage that executives also make it onto tabletop incident drills. Okay. So the principle I would like to mention, if it happened and there is no record, it didn't happen as far as an auditor is concerned.
Okay. Where do organizations struggle most, sir? Control design, evidence capture, or consistency? Because uh, My view says we design something, but we will not have evidence at times. And once the design is done, there is no consistently monitored. So my take is that. So your take on it, sir?
I would like to say consistency by a
Okay.
wide margin actually. So most companies can design a reasonable control framework and capture evidence for the first few months after an audit. The failure is sustaining evidence generation as a routine operating discipline. So monitoring logs stop being reviewed, exception registers go stale, so attestations get a rubber stamp. Okay, so these are all things which we have seen in the general technology world, and now the same things continue for the AI world. So governance that requires human memory to execute will eventually fail. So you remember, right, Prem? At times, audits of 27,001 we are doing, and somebody is late, stuck in traffic or out of station, they're still yet to come. So it depends on human memory. But in AI, it doesn't work out. Everything doesn't work out human memory. You need to have everything documented and governed
Yeah,
properly.
yeah, yeah. I agree, sir. I agree. Now, what we are saying is logs, approvals, change records, monitoring signals, exceptional registers, and periodic attestation. Leaders must be able to answer everything the auditors or board requires when it comes to an evidence that they are looking at. Because when you don't have those evidences, the audit fails. When you don't have those pointers shown to the board, you get into a issue of the implementation itself, and you will get questioned, is what we see. Boards
Yeah,
does not need to, board doesn't buy, we think it's fine, but buys proof, is what we are saying. When you show proof, and and the boards also need numbers, right? You need to tell, this is what is the incidents that I was able to uh, reduce, this is the cost that I was able to reduce, and this is the effort that I was able to reduce with the system coming into picture. So what's one data governance mistake that collapses AI trusts?
okay. It's all about data. So poor quality, data quality is one of the thing which could make a lot of things to be worst. Actually, that's what my take would be.
So, is poor data quality, unclear consent and purpose, or excessive access or uncontrolled data movement? What is the poor that they should be looking at, sir, when we talk about trust?
It would be the unclear consent, and
Okay.
purpose limitation is the silent killer. Okay,
Hmm.
so poor data quality is visible and fixable. Excessive access is a hygiene problem. So we know it, right? Prem, access is always a hygiene problem.
Yeah.
But when an AI system is trained on data collected for a purpose and then used to make decisions for another without updated consent or legal basis, the company has a fundamental compliance exposure that no technical control can fully remediate. So the moment a regulator asks what was the lawful basis for using the data in that model, the answer is unclear. It truly collapses. So this is where all it comes on to picture. I would also like to quote one thing. Earlier we used to have roti kapda in makan, right? It's one of the
Yeah.
famous quoting. So
Right.
now we have all about roti kapna data in makan. Data is very much vital.
No, I think now, looking at the way data is getting secured by the global players, now you taking GDPR or TPDP or CCPA pointers, or the Brazil government data compliance issues. Data is the next fuel or new oil which we can talk about, where any data can bring down the organization, and also make an organization if the data is very securely kept, right? So what we are saying is data is the primary engine. What's your executive rule for data access in AI pipelines?
Yeah, I would say there are three rules which are non-negotiable. Okay, so the first is the least privilege. So AI systems access only the data they need for their defined function. The second one is purpose binding. So data used to train or run a model must have a documented lawful basis for the specific use. The third one I would say is about traceability. So every data input to every high risk model must be traceable from source to the destination. This requires enforcement infrastructure by putting access controls, data lineage tools, and data governance team with authority to challenge AI teams wanting to expand data scope without review. So we have seen in the infosec days, right? So people used to come for exceptions and they want to have some router kept in the internal network, or they want to put a USB pen drive. Exceptions are there, but now here again the problem comes is about exception management, where reviews have to be done, and we need to empower the teams, specifically the data governance team. So we need to establish those type of things. And last thing, Prem, I also would like to mention that last week I was one of the wonderful campus. We were talking to almost 150 personnel. So talking about post-quantum cryptography, where again data plays a vital role. So we got the HNDL live, harvest now, decrypt later attacks are very much there now. So data can be stored and attackers can break it out after 10 days. The new era
Hmm.
has come into.
I think the protection layers are getting stricter, and the data that we are having is to be looked at a very close way of how do we spread data to the systems, and how this data has to be protected while in progress or process also. Connecting what we are saying is, so the kind of data that we are talking is, you'll have to look at privacy exposure, leak risk, biased amplification, advocate least privilege is what you said. That's the major point. Data at the minimal for the pilots, right? And also look at traceability is what we are seeing. And if data is not governed, AI cannot be trusted is what we are saying, as many pointers that we want to look at now. AI how, when we talk about AI, how should the C-suite handle employees using unapproved AI tools? Because now you have so many tools that are there which are downloadable and they can be used. How do we monitor, or how do we control those kind of things while the employees don't use them?
Very simple, like the main weapon of C-suite would be to define a strong policy. That's what would be the single word I would like to mention.
Okay, got it, sir. Why do employees adopt shadow AI? Is it because it is speed, curiosity, workload, or bad tooling, unclear policies, sir? Which do you think is the people adoption there?
Primarily the workload and bad tooling. That all comes with unclear policy as the main driver. So
Hmm.
employees are not adapting to shadow AI because they want to break rules. They're doing it because there are no approved tools, or approved tools are coming very slow actually, or they're outdated, or they're at times absent. And so suddenly now, one employee developer talks to another company employee, and they say that, hey, look, I'm using this very much, and this has saved me X number of hours of time. Are you using this? And when they talk about it, and they know they can try in their own systems, when they come here and they see this company is having very old systems, what they are having, so that again will become challenge for them. Okay, so the AI tools deliver real productivity gains that the managers are rewarding onto. So again, the manager looks into, and they reward accordingly. That's where the reviews come into picture. Okay, so yeah, I could like to mention this is the main thing. Prem.
Sir, what is happening is, I think the employees need to understand the difference between uh, what is enablement and what is enforcement, right? So when we talk at that, what is the best balance that we can look? Because as you rightly said, there are so many tools that have come. What is the best balance between enforcement and enablement?
First thing is that I want to be with the employees. So main thing is that days are gone where the C-suite used to demand things and all. Now we have to be friendly with the employees and ensure things work in tandem. So I could say to your question regarding enforcement and enablement, 70% enablement and 30% of enforcement. And the sequence is matters. Okay, so first, publish a clear AI acceptable use policy. That's very much important. So we had, right, Prem, when we joined the companies, we used to sign acceptable usage policy, how to use emails and all, to send payslips or not to our personal Gmail accounts. So all
Yes.
but they're covered in that. Now the days are here where we need to have a AI acceptable usage policy. The second thing is that create a fast track sandbox where employees can experiment under guardrails without a 6 month procurement process. So procurement process, the companies are very much slow. So they will go for 2 months, 3 months is okay, but going beyond 6 months is very dangerous. Okay.
Hmm.
So the third thing is that establish an express review lane for teams wanting to adopt new AI tools. So a 10-day light whale assessment for low risk tools, then enforce technical controls that prevent data exfiltration to unapproved tools, and a clear consequence framework for intentional violations. Okay, so I would like to mention this by because when we used to work about software development, we used to have a open source tool list, right? Prem? Open source products are there, can come news or not. We used to have a RASI defined onto. We can say that Perl 1.5 is okay, not 1.7. We have to define that. So likewise, don't wait and frustrate the young generation and the employees working on AI. So make proper diagrams which have got checklists which are in place which follow all these rules actually. So mention all the AI models the company is supporting and what can they explore in the sandbox environment. That's what I could say.
As you rightly said, because when we started our careers, we wanted to look at what are the approved softwares that are there, what are the approved purchase. See, I will go back to my days where even having a MS project in your system was not acceptable. You had to raise a request, and that license used to be given to you for having the project management tool installed to you. Today I think that's the same thing applicable, where we need to look at what are the tools that we are going to have, or whitelist those tools is what we are talking, which whether it comes to AI or other tools, which has to be an approval policy that is there. Now
I could
what
mention
we can
just pausing you there when you said about what you have done in the X number in 1980s. I would like to say that the era of information security was like Bahubali 1, cyber
do.
security is like Bahubali 2, and now AI comes as Bahubali 3. So where the thing is, Bahubali is the same, but the versions are changing.
Versions have changed, right. So I think what we are also saying is, whether we want to do these kind of implementation, we need to look at having a safe sandbox, approved trail, have a clear training that we should be, and clear guardrails approach. Because uh, this drives things that are not going on publicly onto the production environments. Enabling plus controls drives the adoption safely, because you're doing it in a sandbox, then you're testing it, the data is sanitized, and everything is looking nice before you move to the production. And we still have to have those guardrails which are there. What you cannot ban AI is what we are saying today, at the speed that it is going in. Still we need to have a control. Shadow AI always wins is what I see, right? So coming to the next point, we are talking about AI, but we are not talking about vendors. What vendor risks are hardest to see, whether it is model providers, SaaS, co-pilots, outsource ops, or data processors? What do you see as vendor risks?
It's a wonderful question. I always had been working along with the vendor management teams, and always a challenge which I used to face to get them into speed of cybersecurity vendor management process. Now we are settling down to them vendors to the procurement teams to to speak the language of cybersecurity. Now we are into AI now currently. Okay, the big thing. So main thing I would like to mention is that SaaS co-pilots embedded in existing enterprise tools are the hardest to see, the fastest growing risk. When a vendor adds an AI feature to a product you already use, a summarization engine in your CRM, recommendation layer in your ERP, it often arrives via routine software update, not a new procurement decision. So your existing contract may not cover it, your data governance team didn't review it, your employees are already using it. These require tracking AI feature additions in existing supplier products, not just new AI vendor onboarding. Okay, so much of English, but I would like to mention a small example. We have seen in our olden days, like whenever there used to be an update for the Internet Explorer from Microsoft, so we used to have a choice to update it. But
Hmm.
now, when Google Chrome has come, at times we notice suddenly the things are getting updated very fast. You don't
True.
even have a say onto that.
Yeah.
And once I also noticed my Google Meet settings to join a video conference call are very much set properly. And one fine day, I see the interface is changed from Google, not even notified for me. And I want to put some wallpaper which I have seen, it is gone already.
Okay.
So likewise, this is what could happen when the vendors don't notify us and they do the changes in the AI products.
Okay. Got it, sir. I think the rapid changes and the implementation of these changes without being informed and updated, where you see this could be one of the implementation risks that could be there, is what you're saying. What is the one control or contract clause you insist for AI enabled vendors?
Okay, so this is the very good point, where it's a very interesting topic to work along with the legal department. So I also had an experience where working with the legal department, I blended the cybersecurity clauses and privacy clauses. Now the time has come for AI. So to your question, Prem, so mandatory AI change notification with a 30-day advance notice period for any material change to the AI models, training data, or decision logic, which is services delivered to our company, for example. Okay, so this is the main clause which I would like to mention about a 30-day advance notice period. So best of luck to the vendors, but they need to abide by this.
What you are looking at is having a transparency that is there, auditability, data handling, incident notification or sub process visibility, and also most of the time we don't have an exit criteria that is there, or exit strategy that is there when you go onboard an ender. That also has to be tied, and shared responsibility must be written, and it could be testable also, is what you are saying. Your AI risk posture is the only as strong as your loudest vendor, is what I want to say. And sir, coming to the
See,
next
just
point.
Prima, allow me to answer one more point on to.
Yes. Yes, sir.
There are a lot of smart vendors. There are monopoly vendors I've seen in the market
Okay.
who would not sign our contracts. They would ask us to sign their contract. Say, for example, SAP Concur systems are there. So Concur always asks the client to sign their contract. They don't allow and they don't accept to write the contract what the company asks. So that is where one of the things. There are also other monopoly vendors who are there who would say that sign our contract, not your contract. So that's where the legal team has to be very smart on to and see how do you put these contacts into picture.
Okay. Got it, sir. Now, when AI fails, what does AI incident response look like?
It did not fail. So it's very um, different thing currently. The incident response has to be very faster. Okay,
Yeah.
so because not only that customers are impacted, the regulators also are behind us, so we need to ensure that this comes into picture.
Sir, I have one last question that I want to ask. I have some of the pointers that are there, then we'll summarize what we have been discussing. What are the incident types? Data leak, harmful output, bias event, unauthorization, model drift, fraud enablement. What are the incident types that you should look at, sir?
Okay, so I'm counting what you're saying actually. So many times. So six primary incident categories, each with a different first responder: data leakage, immediate containment, security plus privacy has to co-lead onto, and harmful output is there. It would go for a output suspension communication, plus the legal co-lead. The legal team has to come into picture. And if there is a biased event, so model suspension has to happen and flagging the risk, plus a legal team person has to be there with the regulatory notification assessment has to be done. And the last thing is the last before one, unauthorized access. So security incident protocol has to be raised, and model drifting. So we're all new words, Prem. I don't know how our audience will catch up, but so model drift, where rollback trigger, model owner leads, and fraud enablement. This is one of the thing where the financial crime and the security collates have to take into picture. So each requires a pre-written playbook and not improvisation. So I would like to mention that so many topics you have spoken about in the single question. So for all these six primary incident categories, there has to be a playbook with the company, and how the company will adapt and how do they deal with is what very much vital.
Sir, with this, we are good with the questions or the pointers that I wanted to. I have about four questions that have come in the chat. I'm bringing them here. So the first point is, from your experience, what do you think is missing in how financial systems serve blue collar workers today? This is a question from Vijay Reddy.
Can you please repeat again once?
From your experience, what do you think is missing in how financial systems serve the blue collar workers today? I am not sure. This is a technical. This is a question that I think financial systems. I'm not sure. But you have any pointer here, sir? I think
I think if you can express the context what he is mentioning
yeah,
would be appreciated on to.
yeah. So we are not getting what exactly are you looking. Are you saying how the systems are blur, or how do you support with a tool or something? We are not clear. So if you can give us a pointer there, we will respond to that. Then I have a second question, which is from Kiran. Praveen, should we not do due diligence and document every aspect, including the ownership, before starting the use? Organization should have undocumented or non-owned applications, including AI, is a major risk for violating compliance. So that's the point that she's put in, sir.
Yeah, it's a very good question actually. And as one of the question of governance we have mentioned is that everything in AI has to be recorded and written properly, because
Hmm.
it will cost the company very dearly, and there are companies that are shutting down because if something goes wrong, a wrong decision can cost you long. So
Yeah,
it's a wonderful question. So everything has to be documented, and ownership with the RASI model has to be stated down to. And shadow applications, what we spoke about, Prem, they are the non-owned applications. So everything has to come into the radar of owning it. That's the reason we need to ensure the meetings have to happen weekly, quarterly, and half yearly and annually, where we need to ensure that we have proper corrections to our entire path.
got it, sir. See, again, Kiran has another question. Actually, even a lighter system need the same level of governance as high impact systems, from my experience, right? With data growing, policies changing, and a lighter system may become a high impact system also, from my experience with logs. So this is the point that she's saying. uh, we spoke about this in the pointer when we start today. My take, before Praveen even goes, is we spoke about this in the question where we said today it could be a lower priority, tomorrow it could have turned into a high priority, that we spoke about. Praveen, you have anything on this pointer, Praveen?
Yeah, so very good question, Kiran. So here, as we mentioned about three tiers, tier one, tier two, and tier three, high, medium, and low. So we don't know, as I mentioned earlier, the tier low system can become very priority on one fine day. So though we have leveled them as tiers, that would be helpful for the teams internally to ensure what is the impact and what need to be focused. However, because of the continuous monitoring enablement which are there, so we should use the same angle and apply it so that our flow system also will not go unnoticed.
I think those are the pointers. I think she got dropped also at point, and she said, interesting topic, got dropped, and we'll listen again later. Thank
Okay.
you for that, Kiran. So hope we have answered your pointers. Anything, you just drop us on the comment. We'll be in a position to respond to those comments. Sir, with this, I would like to summarize on what we spoke over the last 40 minutes.
One thing, Prem, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry. As the first question person responded back regarding Blue Corner and financial systems.
no, sir. No, he's not responded.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
See, the financial systems, end of the day, I also work for financial banking companies. So the point here is that financial systems are very much robust. Every second matters, every minute matters. And data is very much sovereign onto, and access is very much sovereign onto. If anything lacks, it would impact not only the company shares, but the companies depending on them also. So we need to ensure the systems are robust and they're maintained in a proper way.
We have one pointer from Shivakant who said, great insights, informative, highly appreciated, wonderful discussion. Thank you, Shiva. Thank you for
Thanks,
joining.
Shrikant.
Yeah. With this, sir, I would like to summarize what we said. Accountability beats awareness. AI governance starts with ownership of outcomes and deciding the right decisions at the right pointers, right? So that is one thing. We also spoke about inventory plus tiering, which we said tier 1, tier 2, these applications equals control is what we are saying. You cannot govern on what you cannot see. Also, we spoke about there would be something which will be infused or introduced as a feature to the existing system, which can not be seen. Not all AI needs the same rigor, is what we said also. Evidence is the new currency. Controls matter only when they can be proven consistently, because without proving, you cannot have a control there, which is going to help us, right? Shadow AI is a leadership insight. If teams bypass policy, governance must evolve into enablement plus guardrails, is what we're talking about. AI incident response is mandatory. If you can't contain, preserve evidence and roll back, you are not governed, you are just guessing. So that's the point that we want to look at. Sir, any final pointers that you want to tell before we close?
Yeah, one final pointer I would like to mention is that I want to emphasize everyone hearing this today that to prepare if you are a company or you're working on AI very much strongly. So I would encourage to prepare a 24-hour playbook of AI. So one very much vital thing. So everything documented. If any incident happens, if something happens, how do you communicate? How do you remediate? Whom to contact? Everything has to be documented, and every hour has to be maintained on. I would just mention quickly, Prem. I think we got a few minutes time. So in 24-hour booklet, I would like to mention that document like hour 0 to 2. So what do you contain? Suspend or roll back the system, AI system if the incident is ongoing. Do not delete logs. Evidence do the evidence preservation and notify the incident commander. And hover 2 to 6, assess scope, document the timeline. So I'm just giving a context. So I will not answer this fully, but the point is that 24-hour playbook should talk about which hour to which hour what has to be done, who has to be involved. That is very vital.
Absolutely, sir. Today, with what we are seeing, you need to have a playbook on what the hourly structure that we are looking at round the clock is what we are seeing. Thank you for that. Praveen, to close, if organizations remember one thing today, it is this: AI accountability is not a future problem, it's the present problem, operating model, and winners won't be the ones who use AI the most, they will be the ones who own and govern it and prove it and correct it fast without slowing down the business, is what we want to say. And with this, we would like to conclude our episode for today. Thank you for the audience for joining, and thank you, Praveen, to be part of this session. It was great having you here, sir, and good day, sir.
Thank you, Prem. And lastly, I would like to conclude saying that we are in the world of AI. I am also presuming OI will come into picture soon, organoid intelligence. So welcome to the new world. Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Prem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.